Previously on the Leaky Bucket podcast.
I think the Achilles heel of sales is this just overly strong focus on quota attainment. And look, I get it. Salespeople need to be measured in some way. We all in the business world need to be measured in some way. Really talented salespeople either leave because of the pressures regarding quotas and not attaining it, or being pushed out or even, fired because of not attaining a quota. And what I've seen is that you could be the greatest salesperson in the world, but if the market isn't there, or the product or service doesn't measure up, you're not going to be successful. So, I think what I tell people in Sell Like a Spy is, as part of the conviction of how important salesmanship is, that unless your product or service is totally differentiated from the competition, and or you have a price point that blows the competition out of the water, it's salesmanship that's going to be such a critical part of it.
Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and this is the financial performance podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, to plug the leaks in their business, and to move from surviving to thriving. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. Today we have with us Darryl Bates Brownsword, and after 15 years working with business owners to grow their business, he realized that no one is advising him in the specialized area of preparing their business for exit, and also the owner's life after exit as well. So Succession Plus helps business owners to get the most from their life's work by preparing them and their business for exit. Darryl, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So, first of all, obviously, I've talked about sort of your exit and succession planning. In your opinion, is that what you're most well known for?
Look, I've been working on the exit planning, specifically focused on exit planning for the last 3 or 4 years. Prior to that, I spent about 15-ish years working with SME business owners, helping them to understand the various stages of growth. So, growing through scale up and getting a sustainable business, and understanding the stages. But I was neglecting for many years the specific focus on how to get out and how to exit on your terms. I just saw, when I was working with business owners, I'd see a lot of them, and we'd prepare the growth, and we'd help them grow and build a really nice business. And their attitude, Ian, was, hey, look, if I build my business big enough, someone will come along and they'll see my business and they'll make me an offer. And and then I'll consider selling it. And when I saw that happening, I would see that they weren't specifically growing their business or preparing their business for exit, to be exit ready, or for themselves to be ready for exit. And so someone would come along and they'd make an offer for the business, and you'd see them step back and go, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. So immediately they're on the back foot. So when they're on the back foot, they're reacting. It's the first time they've gone through this process, whereas the buyer typically has gone through the process 2 or 3 times already that year. They know what they're doing. And I'd see these business owners on their back foot, and they'd end up doing a deal. It would take their focus off the business. It'd take far longer than they thought it was going to take. They thought it was just, a few weeks to do the deal, walk away, and they'd be sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas. But, it just didn't happen. They didn't prepare. They said, my business is my pension, but they didn't do any pension planning. So they were just reacting. And what I saw as a result of that lack of planning is they just weren't exiting on their terms. They weren't getting the most from their life's work. And, what should have been the pinnacle of their career, as a self-employed or an entrepreneur who's built their own business, what should have been the highlight of their career, going, hey, well, fantastic. Wasn't that a wild ride, but worth it? They'd end up, doing a deal that required them to still take all the risk. They've been taking risks the whole time as an entrepreneur. And, and what I mean by risk is typically shows up in the form of some sort of earnout or lock-in requirement. And entrepreneurs just don't deal well being locked in and shackled. And, they'd go, yeah, I can work for 3 years for someone else. And, 3 months into that deal, they're going, what was I thinking? How did I ever think I could work for someone else for 3 years? and they would just leave, and they would leave, and leaving a whole lot of money left on the table because their earnout requirements weren't met. And to me, that was just so sad and tragic, because it's avoidable. If they'd thought about their business as an asset and something that was attractive to someone else, then they could have avoided all of that. And that's a very long answer to a really short question.
That's right. Darryl, so in your view, Darryl, if somebody's selling selling a business and they have an earnout within that deal, for you, is that a bad deal?
It's not a bad deal for me. It doesn't change anything for me. It means if I've been working with them, I probably haven't done a good job if they've got a lot riding on the earnout. So let's take me out of the equation. Why do I mention earnouts? Just historically, you have a look at earnouts, and on the whole, they just don't work. An earnout, why is there an earnout? It's the person coming into the business saying, hey, look, you've given me some revenue forecasts. You've shown me the revenue history of the past performance of the business. I'm looking to buy the business, and what I'm looking for is reliability of those future revenues. I'm making an investment here. I'm putting a whole lot of money into the business, and what I'm buying is the future revenues. And if it's all dependent on you, and the future revenue of the business requires you to be here, well, then for me to get a return on the investment, I need you to be a big part of that. And I need you to help me achieve those revenues for the next 2 or 3 years, so that my investment is safe. But if you can demonstrate to me that those revenues, the likelihood of those revenues will be achieved without your involvement, because you haven't been involved for the last 2 or 3 years anyway, just providing a guiding hand, then I'll go, hey, look, clearly the business doesn't need you to be there. It's resilient. It's not dependent on you. So it's a low risk by not having you there. So that's why I look to avoid and minimize earnouts. Now, what we can do, and what I've seen a number of business owners do, they go, look, I want to exit the business from an equity perspective. I've achieved everything I want to achieve. It's fantastic. Thanks very much. I'll exit the business. Oh, so there's one deal. And now let's do a different deal where, hey, I'd love to consult for the business for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not done yet. I want to back out. So if you treat them as two different deals, one is the exit of the business and one is an employment or some sort of contracting consulting agreement, two different deals. I haven't got everything riding on it then as a business owner exiting my business. On the whole, earnouts, not attractive. Let's try and avoid them as much as we can. And I know there'll be people listening going, yeah, but I know these guys have had an earnout and it works. And yeah, on the rare occasion they do work, but on the whole they don't.
Yep. No, I generally agree. I think that, from my point of view, there are those odd occasions when, an earnout is not a bad deal. But for me, the earnout is probably from poor planning in the first place, that actually that was almost on a whim, an exit became an option, as opposed to a strategic exit that's been manufactured and sort of worked towards, I suppose. If that's the case, then I think an earnout, when done in the right way over the right period of time, then an earnout can be avoided, in my experience, anyway.
Yeah, look, for sure, Ian. And I've seen, and I've had M&A people come to me and say, look, a lot of earnouts just don't work because the entrepreneur can't work for someone else. I've also had people come to me and say, you know what, as soon as we signed the deal, the people have come, right, now our objective is to make sure they don't meet the earnout requirements. So they'll move the goalposts, in other words. Now, that doesn't happen in very many, it's not all the time, but it's still a risk. And what we want to do is that we want to de-risk it for the founders of the business. And by de-risking it for the founders, we're de-risking it for the acquirers as well. So if we're reducing risk for everyone, that's got to be good, right? Because the new owners really don't want, it's not an ideal situation for them to have the old owners hanging around and either getting in the way and going, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. And I don't want, So it's not helpful. They're only it's a risk mitigation strategy to get the owners there on earnout, and because it's a financial decision. The business won't generate what it would without them being there. Let's reduce the risk. Make everyone happy.
Yep. Darryl, obviously we sort of diverted a little bit off, but my original question was, what are you most well known for? Flipping sort of the other side, what do people misjudge about you the most?
I didn't see that one coming. What do they misjudge about me? Look, I don't. Look, maybe I've got an easygoing nature, so maybe I can be a bit casual and a bit informal at times. But if you're informal, it doesn't mean you're not taking things seriously and you're not making an impact with the business. So maybe there's a downside of being a little informal, especially over here in the UK, where it is still a bit more of a formal environment. That's changed. I've been here nearly 20 years now. I've definitely noticed that change over the last 20 years. When I first arrived, it was a real culture shock for me. When I'd go into, we're doing a lot of work with professional services, and you'd go into a legal practice, and the senior partners were still referred to as Mr. Brown or Mr. Jones or Miss or Mrs. or whatever, and that was a real culture shock for me. Being an Aussie, I'm just naturally informal and perhaps a little casual by nature.
Yeah, I think.
Did I avoid and circle around that one? Okay.
No, that's all good. Darryl, have you got 3 sort of key values that you live by?
I have. I've got 3 values, and we've worked on these values that we're very conscious of in the business, because we've got a team of people. It's not just myself. And we've worked with these to, we've consciously evolved and, decided what they are. First one is that we want to inspire, the guys, the people in the business that are attracted to the business. We want to inspire. We want to inspire those around us and work with business owners, because often when we're working with them, they're tired and it's sometimes a bit stale. And sometimes the reason they want to exit the business is they're just gone, look, it's all too much. I need to get over it. So if we can inspire them to go, look, it doesn't have to be this way. There is a better option. So we want to inspire. The next one is that we want to challenge. We want to challenge the status quo. When someone says, well, things can't be done like here, it can't be changed, it's always happened this way, our industry always does it this way. We go, well, so let's challenge the status quo. Let's see why things can't be done. So inspire, challenge. And the third one is probably linked back to my previous question or answer to you. It's related to fun. We only work with a small number of clients at a time. Each one of our advisors just works with a small number of clients. And if we're working with a small number of clients, we can pick and mix and those who we work with. So we match each of our advisors to the right side of client, because it's really important to get that cultural and commercial mix right. So, we've got different people with different personalities. Some are a little more easygoing, some a little more, suited to working with slightly larger companies in the SME side of things. Some have got, different backgrounds and experience. Some love working with blue collar, some will only work with white collar. So, but if you put the wrong person in the wrong environment, they won't have fun. It won't be fun for them, and they won't get the most out of their client and the potential of the client. So inspire, challenge, and fun are the 3 values we live by. And there's a 4th element that we say, look, if we're meeting those, then we get to make an impact. And what we really want to do is have an impact on the lives of our clients' businesses. We really want to make sure that those that do invest in running and taking risk of building their business over a lifetime, that they get to exit on their terms, and that when they do exit, it is a positive experience, rather than ending up feeling like a messy divorce.
Brilliant. Darryl, I'm just thinking about, obviously, your sort of exit planning and all that side of stuff. For you, what's your definition of success?
Oh, that's pretty easy. Definition of success is, you'll hear me, I was going to say harping on or banging on about 3 catch things. We want to help business owners get the most from their life's work. Now, that is, getting the most from their life's work. It could be a succession, it could be an exit, it could be a handover. It's whatever it means to them, getting the most of what they've built over a lifetime and getting the most out of it. We want to help them maximize the value, and maximize the value is always it's got some caveats around it for the business owners and the context, because there's often maximizing the value and leaving a legacy, getting that balance right there. So a success is helping them to maximize the value with the resources and assets they've got within their business. So getting a good return. And the third one is we want them to exit on their terms. We want them to be on the front foot when they come to exit, and exit on their terms is our phrasing for, what does that mean? Well, it's a minimal earnout requirements or onerous earnout obligations as possible. There may be some earnouts, there may be some warranties and what have you that they need to wait for, but we want them to exit on their terms and not get pushed around by buyers who are have done this a number of times before, and a bit of a game. So that's a success for us. Most from the life's work, maximize value and exit on their terms.
Brilliant. Darryl, I think if you probably asked most entrepreneurs and business owners what their long-term plans are, it's probably to exit their business in some description, or to at least certainly take a massive step back from the day-to-day operations. From my experience, very few business owners or entrepreneurs actually have any type of I was going to say executable plan, probably not even a documented plan of any description really about exiting their business. And I think often then end up selling probably due to stress, and that's it. They've now had enough and they're done. When, in your opinion, should they be starting to consider exit?
It's like the old proverb, isn't it? The best time is to start when you started the business, the next best time is now, type of thing. But it's a really interesting point you make, Ian, about business owners don't have a plan. I mentioned before that I've done a lot of consulting with SMEs and helped them to grow. And over the 15 or so years that I did that, I think I only ever saw 4 businesses that actually had a documented business plan. And each of those business plans were quite old. And when I quizzed the owners about them, they said, well, I only put them in place because it was to get finance and funding. And you talk to a lot of business owners and you're nodding, so I'm guessing you have the same experience. But you say, well, tell me about your business plan. And they go, look, the business plan is in my head. I go, great. Okay, so tell me about your business plan. Well, I'm going to grow the business. Great. How? And then they just get stuck. So when it's not documented, it's not thought through. Grow your business is a concept. It's not a strategy. It's not a plan. It's just a concept. So it comes the same to exit planning. You get a lot of business owners who go, when you meet them, and tell me if you have the same conversations, and they go, well, I'm going to exit my business in 3 years' time. And you go, great. And after hearing that a lot, and then you catch up with them after a year and you go, great, well, it's only 2 years now. And they go, no, I'm going to exit my business in 3 years' time. And someone said to me once, well, yeah, you got me. I'm 15 years into my 3-year plan. And it forced me to start thinking. I go, why do we say as humans, because this doesn't just apply to exit planning or business planning. There's something about humans where we have a 3-year time frame that we look ahead. And as I was thinking about it and digging into it, if it's something's going to happen in 3 years' time, we tend to think that we don't have to do anything specific about it today, because it's just far enough away that I don't have to do anything today. But as soon as I've lived today and I've got tomorrow, 3 years is now less than 3 years, and all of a sudden it's 2 years, and then it's 1 year, and the older you get, the faster those years tick by. So if you're thinking 3 years is a really good time frame to start putting things into action, and especially for exit planning, if you want to maximize value. And the reason I say that is because, look, there's 2 components to evaluation, and you've got some accounting and knowledge and experience, haven't you, Ian, where you're doing this sort of thing all the time. So there's 2 components to evaluation. The first part is there's, and most business owners will go, we know how it's worked. and they'll go, look, there's a component of a profit. So sometimes that's a revenue number or it's an EBIT number, but there's a profit component to the formula. And then there's a multiplier of that number. So, so some businesses are sold for 1 times revenue, and some other, some software platforms, they'll be 20 times, I don't know, some magical number, and a lot of other businesses in between, it's kind of 5 to 7 times EBITDA are kind of average numbers. And if you want to maximize the value of your business, you'll talk to a business owner, you go, well, what is it in your industry? And they'll all know. They'll go, look, the multiplier in our industry is 5. And I go, great, 5 times what? Well, 5 times profit. They won't know exactly what the profit is. They'll just know that this mythical multiplier is 5. And I go, okay, are you aware of any businesses in your industry who sold for a higher multiple? They'll go, yeah, there was this company that they sold for 10 times once. And I go, great. Why did they sell for 10 times multiple? Well, they just got lucky. I go, what do you mean they got lucky? Well, they got lucky, and I go, well, the buyer, you think these buyers are naive and they're buying multiple businesses per year, and they just bumped into this business once and they just thought, what the heck, I'll give you twice of what I pay any other business in your industry. And they go, oh, well, probably not. So they've got a whole lot of things in place. Their business is prepared. So there's 2 elements, if you like, to preparing your business for exit. There's the things that will boost the profit. And I'm getting really rubbery here, but there are things that will boost your profit. And these are all the one-time fixes. You've got to get all your governance. You've got to get everything in place that a buyer would expect to be in place. And every industry has that standard industry multiplier, if you like. And these are all the things that they expect to see to achieve that standard industry valuation, if you like. If you don't have these things in place, they'll start chipping away and going, well, hey, look, I can't give you the standard number because of this, this, and this. Or they'll go, well, we need a big earnout agreement. Now, these things, we can fix all of those things, and it'll take 6 to 9 months, and a lot of people can do it. You get all the governance, all the minutes, all the documentation in place, and make sure that the business looks tidy. Then, if you've got a 3-year runway, then you can do things that really maximize the value of the business, and you can start working on the intangible assets, the things that don't sit on the balance sheet. And what I mean by that, like if 3 years you can build some IP and change the culture of the business. It'll take 3 years to change the culture of a business, but if you change the culture of the business and you influence the staff retention and the loyalty, and you have some sort of profit awareness and understanding, and the culture is that everyone is totally aligned to the business direction, and they can see what they're doing and how that influences the business direction. You've got some IP in your business, you've got a brand in the industry where people are coming to you for your brand rather than coming to your business because of you. And so these are the sort of examples of intangible assets. It could be that you've got all of your revenue is locked in with long-term contracts, for example, with governments and massive corporates. So it's really secure. So the way your revenue is structured, and we've got a list of 7 levers that we look at, and these things leverage your valuation. So it's not just let's just go and shuffle and tidy up your accounts and hope for the best. There is some art and science behind increasing and maximizing the value of your business. If you've got 3 years, then some of those intangible assets, they take a year to get into play. You've got to build them. You've got to, I think Gerber talks about working on your business. It's the classic working on your business. And if you're working on the assets of your business rather than just the revenue of your business, the income will flow on once those assets are built. Income will follow the assets. So you build those intangible assets, you get them in place, and the only reason you would put them in place is because they're going to generate revenue. So you need to demonstrate how these assets, these intangible assets, will influence your revenue. Give you an example, a business that's well positioned and branded and differentiated in the market can charge 30% more than the average business in the market. To me, that's a real return on investment. So if you've got 3 years and you're serious and you're prepared to invest time, effort, and a bit of money, you can really maximize the value of your business, and you'll make so much more on exit, and in terms of capital return and less stress, than you will on just by saving a few pennies. So yeah, that's a great reason to why to look at things 3 years in advance, and not just go, look, I want to sell now. How do I get out of here? That's a fire sale. No one wants that.
I think it's probably a great little segue there, Darryl, actually, with people wanting the fire sale. I'm sure that probably is a great trigger for the majority of reasons people start to consider a possible exit. And like you say, actually, it's probably only really going to favour the buyer in those circumstances, because it's very not ready, although it's high risk, obviously, because they're usually, you're investing probably in that entrepreneur or that owner, and the earnouts required in terms of if they disappear tomorrow, then what have you actually bought? I'm interested to know how many people end up going through, let's say that 3-year transition process where they're making the transitions to, the assets, the IP, as well as the governance side of things, and also sort of de-risking the profile of the business. How many people go through that who at the start were a bit of like, oh, I'm in a fire sale type mode, this is high stress. And then actually, by the time they've gone through all that process, now they're not even interested in selling, because actually they've built themselves a bit of a cash cow, sort of.
I understand the question now. I was sitting there going, where's he going with this? But yeah, look, it's not unusual, Ian, where sometimes a business owner will come to us and they go, look, get the business for exit. I've had enough. I need to get out. Look, I'll give it away. How do you can I just get out of this business without any obligations? That I want out. It's just taken over my life type of thing. And we work with them for 2 or 3 years, and they'll say to us, hey, look, we've prepared the business for exit now. And you know what? I know I said I wanted to exit in 3 years, but we're 3 years down the track, and the transformation has been so profound.
Hey there. Really sorry for interrupting, but I really wanted to let you know about some amazing bonus content we have available for you. You see, not only do we record behind the scenes, but also we go deeper into some of the key topics that come up during the conversation. Now, you can find out more about this and access all of it free of charge over on Facebook. Just search for the Leaky Bucket Podcast Community.
It's just I didn't see it coming. I've fallen back in love with my business. Do you guys mind if I just keep running it and enjoying it for another couple of years? Because it's far more profitable than it's been for the last few years. And it's really enjoyable to run. My role in the business has changed. I feel like I've got a new career because my role has changed and I'm less stressed and having so much more fun. I might just hang around for another couple of years. Is that okay? And we go, look, from our perspective, it's absolutely fine, because we don't charge for a clip on the exit. We're just simple consultants, and we charge for the work that we do, and the value and the uplift that we bring in your business will help you increase the valuation, but we're not charging a fee on your actual transaction. So we go, absolutely, to us, that's a win. Knock yourself out. When you're ready to exit, give us a call. We know people who can help you. And we'll help you find the right partner to help you exit your business.
Brilliant. Darryl, obviously, with the Leaky Bucket podcast, and the leaky bucket obviously is, well, not obviously, but it's all those small little issues and everything that most business owners have got going on, and they're probably not giving enough or maybe even any attention to. What are some of the first things that you guys even do to come in and make sure that business owners are focusing on those leaks within a business?
Look, I didn't set you up, but you could have been set up for that question, because that's perfect. We've got a proprietary process that we follow, and you're absolutely right. It's all the little things that add up. And I think Dave Brailsford, I think he even got the term from the All Blacks, but he talks about all the little 1%, the marginal gains, and they all add up and make a big difference. Absolutely. And we actually apply that principle when it comes to maximizing the value and looking at the marginal gains of all the steps through the primary workflow. And what we call the primary workflow is the workflow from in any business where the client or the prospective client is first identified, all the way through to engagement and repeat business from that client. And we look at all the steps along the way. Can we improve them by a little bit? And we look at 5%. If I improve this by 5%, if I improve that by 5%, it ends up with 25%. Down the line. So what do we do for all those little one percentages? We follow our own process. we've got IP that we use, and we've got our primary IP for implementing into a business is we'll have a look and we go, look, here's the 21 steps that you need to have in place for your business to be exit ready. And if you've got those 21 steps all ticked off, and we'll take you through a process to make sure you've got them all in place, then you know that you're going to get the best, you're positioned best to exit on your terms. So it's a bit like that leaky bucket, and we've got a process to make sure that we go, let's plug this. Here's 21 holes in that leaky bucket that we can plug. And we know that this was developed over 15 years with Craig West, based in Australia. And he refined this process and refined over 15 odd years until he's narrowed it down. And these are the 21 absolute essential things that you need to address to make sure your business is exit ready. So there you have it. You've got our secrets now.
Yeah. I think, Darryl, with the sort of the proprietary process, I suppose, as you described it, that you've got, is there a particular thing that you guys do, or a particular opinion that you guys have within the industry that almost nobody else within the industry agrees with?
Now, no, well, that supposes there is an exit planning industry. Now, the thing I'm going to disagree with you there is I don't think there's an exit planning industry in the UK yet. I think there's some fragmented bits and pieces, and there's people out there helping business owners prepare for exit. But if you say to a business owner, hey, Mr. Business Owner, Mrs. Business Owner, you know you need to work on your business and not in your business, they'll all give you a knowing nod. Yeah, I've heard that. I'm familiar with that concept. They may or may not be doing it. Let's not argue that, but they're very familiar with the concept. If you say to them, hey, business owner, do you know that if you want to maximize your value and exit on your terms, then you've really got to prepare your business for exit? I go, what? Mate, what does that mean? And especially in the UK, they're just not familiar with the concept of exit planning. It's not a known term or concept. So yeah, that's what leads me to believe that we don't have an exit planning industry in the UK. There's no exit planning association or what have you. So I don't even call it exit planning. We just help business owners exit on their terms and get the most from their life's work. If you go to the States, there's about 3 that I know of: the Exit Planning Institute. There's several industry associations, membership associations for people who call themselves exit planners. Now, and in Australia, I think the industry is perhaps a couple of years ahead of it is here. There's people more familiar with it, but over here. So I think the first thing we've got to do is collectively build that industry. If business owners are going to exit on their terms, they need to know that they need to do it. So everyone needs to get the message out there through podcasts like this, and getting the message out there that business owners, you've invested, you've taken the risk, you've built your business over a lifetime. You may have been doing it for 5, 10, 20, 30 years even. I'm sure you have as well. Met business owners are still 70s, in their 80s even, that are still in their business. But you've got a life's work. Building this business over your lifetime, it's a significant investment, especially if you're calling it your pension. If you want to exit on your terms, there's things you need to do. We need to get that message out there, because there's nothing more heartbreaking than seeing someone and go, hey, I'm going to exit my business, and then they realize they haven't built any value. And when it's too late, to me, that's the tragic thing. So that's what I want to change. I want to, like you, get that message out there that it is avoidable, business owners. If you put the right things in place, if you prepare your business for exit, you can have a business that's attractive, right? So part of it is making your business attractive for someone to buy. Because when someone's buying, there's a lot of options out there if they're looking to acquire a business. If we've got too much friction for our business to be acquired, they'll just go, this is too hard, i.e. it's too big a risk, and they'll just go on to the next one. And if we're in the middle of it, we just see that our business wasn't acquired, and we'll blame them, not us. So we need to create that industry, I think, Ian.
Yeah. Sounds good, actually, Darryl. I hadn't really necessarily, I suppose, sort of realised that actually there's no really industry, if you like, for exit planning or anything within the UK. But certainly I think there's a requirement for it, because I'm not sure if I know any business owner who isn't looking to exit at some point. So
they're out there.
Yeah.
I meet business owners, like there's one today that said, responded to some of our marketing. We're established in the 1930s. We have no intention of selling. I go, well, exit planning isn't necessarily about selling. It's succession, it's handover. Who's taking the reins next? You still need to prepare. You don't want there to be any glitches in the transition period. Other business owners, look, you may not want to plan for exit. You may have no intention of exiting, but at some point you're going to exit. Whether you plan it or not, you're going to exit. I'm sorry, it happens to all of us. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that when that does happen, the inevitable does happen, that what's left is handled as you would like it to be. Whether it be you want your family to be looked after, you want your business partners to be looked after, you want the employees to be looked after. You don't want there to be any confusion or ambiguity. You need to prepare that and set that up. Now that, we work with we've got some fantastic partners in the insurance industry who really work and do some proper planning with their clients and help them with all sorts of risk and mitigation and protection. And they do a wonderful job. But it needs to be done. And they're conversations that we don't like having sometimes. All the time.
Yeah. Darryl, I'm interested that obviously you've got a process in terms of obviously you follow, which is to, like say, exit planning of some description, whether that is succession planning or whatever. Has there ever been a time where you got an outcome for a client that you didn't really expect that to be the outcome?
Look, I've had clients that I've been involved with over the years where we started and they couldn't see the value in their business. And we worked with them and we worked on these intangible assets that we're talking about. And because we weren't from within the industry, they had their blinkers on and they were thinking about how businesses in their industry were sold. And they just thought down traditional historical ways of how their business was sold. We came in and we started asking all these questions that everyone in the industry wouldn't ask, like, why do you do it that way? Why does everyone do it that way? So challenging the status quo. And we ended up preparing the business in a certain way. And part of our process is we go, how do we make it more attractive? And how do we make it more attractive to a wider audience? Because smaller businesses on the whole are often only attractive to competitors. And competitors just want to pay the lowest possible price. If we make it more attractive to a strategic buyer and we can help tell a story and paint a picture of why this is attractive to a wider audience, then they go, well, do I build my own product or do I just buy? And I'll go, which is cheaper? Which is the easiest? Which is the less stress? If I just buy one in, I'm up and running and I've got the reputation and everything, and I just plug it into my portfolio and it sits alongside my other business or my other products or my other distribution channels, and it's a strategic fit. And when you get that right, they'll pay way over the odds, and it's the buyer, as in anything, it's the buyer who determines the value of something, not the seller. So there have been times where I can think of one. It was in the it was a travel industry, and we got something like 10 times what they were expecting. So without providing any giveaway signs or anything, but and obviously it was pre-pandemic. It's an offer came out of the blue from one of the big credit card providers, shall we say. And they acquired a business for, because it was a strategic acquisition for them, because these guys they just dominated a particular industry. And we just promoted that and, built all of their IP around that and documented everything and built a story. And Now, that there was a little bit of luck in that. There was a little bit of good timing and in the right place at the right time. But having said that, it's the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? So if you weren't prepared, the luck wouldn't have happened. The fact that they were prepared and ready to go, and they attracted the right deal at the right time. So yeah, it happens often, and yeah, sometimes we work when you've saved a business from, you know, what was heading down a fire sale or you know, type of situation where the owners are, you know, potential Mr. Flex in the industry, and we've gone, look, the industry is declining. You can just wind it down and just sort of milk the revenue for as much as you can over the next few years, but it's disappearing if you don't make a change. So you can change industries, you know, what are the classics? Well, the Olivetti typewriters, probably a little early, but you know, they tried to go to printers and they missed that, and they went to computers. No, they should have gone to printers, but they went to computers. No one recognised them. You know, the Kodaks of the world, blockbusters of the world. Who just, you know, I've just been reading the book from Netflix, and yeah, it was hilarious. Blockbuster. They went to Blockbuster in the early days, sort of cap in hand, please help us out. We need some funding. And it's like 2 years later, it was total role reversal. You know, Blockbuster just totally within their arrogance missed the shift in the market, and Netflix just with streaming, you know, went up and overtook them. It was, yeah, there's those stories every day.
Yes. Darryl, over your shoulder, I noticed you've got Traction by Gino Wickman, right? And we operate on EOS ourselves. I'm just wondering, in terms of how much can something, maybe not specifically EOS, but how much can some kind of structure, stability, and organization within a business help in terms of any succession and exit planning?
I'm going to say it's essential. Yeah, I think Traction is a great model. Yeah, any of those business models, there's a few of them out there. You know, pick one and use it and run with it. But yeah, they've all got some common themes of documentation, knowing who does what, having some sort of structure that's scalable, that grows with your business. A corporate organizational chart isn't the model for a small, growing, scaling business. Have some sort of reporting mechanisms in place, and the thing that most of these books miss is that they provide you with a really good structure, operational structure and framework for running your business. What they are light on often is how to consciously build the right culture. And you know, culture is often referred to as the soft stuff, but I reckon it's the hard stuff. And you always got to, in every side of your business, you need to get the balance right between the culture. Everything about your business has a cultural component and a commercial component, and you need to balance them up. And when it's just purely commercial and no cultural, you have issues. Excuse me. So, and if you can, having values is the first part of your culture, but values are just, you know, they just fuel and lead and influence your behaviors. What are the behaviors you want in your business, and how do you guide? You don't want to have a massive big rule book and going, these are all the behaviors in every step of our process that we want. But how do we use our best judgment to get the right behaviors in our business, and how do we guide our team to follow and use initiative for their own behaviors? And how do you, and I love the concept that I take from professional sports and highly successful sports, because they've got something that we can learn. And that is a culture of team-based accountability. When you're operating, especially in a team-based, high-performing sporting team, you know that all of your teammates are there and you've practiced together, and you know that they know their role. You know, in a team, you don't have everyone doing the same thing. Everyone's got their own specific role, and you've trained together, and you've had all those connections and interplay between the various roles. And on the practice field, you know that it works. So on game day, you just got this inbuilt trust. You're going to keep them accountable to do their role, but you know they're going to do it and they won't let you down because you've invested that time together. So building a culture of team-based accountability, in other words, so when someone says they're going to do something, that you actually do it. Not, oh, look, I meant to do that for you, Ian, I really did, but you know, I just got busy with my day job, and you know, I had the best intentions, but I just got busy. That's not accountable. That's Teflon shoulders, and so having that team-based accountability in your work team is when you see high performing teams that scale and grow consistently and sustainably. So
Yeah.
Traction, E-Myth is another good one. The Gerber stuff, Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, similar again. Or we need something in a business.
Yeah. I think
steps.
For me, there's those common, around the realms of what you just said, that common first hire for so many business owners actually is they're looking for a mini-me. And it's almost to go, actually, that's the last thing you need. You need to be hiring in your weaknesses, in your areas, and actually hiring people that's their natural strengths. And then having that structure and organization, like you say, that actually now you've got a culture of everybody playing to their strengths, not, using your sports analogy. If you've got a football team, you don't want 11 strikers on the pitch. Certainly, you don't want 11 goalkeepers. you need that balance in different areas.
So we implement. So we talked earlier about if you want to avoid us having some sort of earnout on your exit, then you need to demonstrate that your business can run or will achieve those forecast revenues without your input or with minimal sort of input and guidance. And one of the things we look at is we call it an agile management system. And it's agile because it grows with you and adapts. And it uses a lot of the principles, but it says, the agile management system is what we call it. And what it does is it shows that the buyer, and by tracking it, it's a bit like a bit of a logbook. If you're going to buy a secondhand car, you'll go and you see you've decided what you want to buy, and you see two cars that are identical, and one's got logbooks and one hasn't. You're going to buy the one with logbooks, right? So the agile management system creates a business logbook for the organization, and it shows that history of how the management team have set the budgets and the forecasts of the business over the years, and how the systems that they've used to achieve them. So these are management systems rather than other workflow systems. And if we've got that record demonstrating that the management team or the leadership team have achieved those forecasts, and then it gives the buyers great confidence. And when I say setting and achieving those goals, I'm not talking about, say, setting a revenue target of 20 mil and achieving 25, because that suggests that, well, you got lucky and you're not really in control and you didn't see it coming. Like it's setting it of 20 and getting it fairly close to that, just either side of it, and adapting and moving to it. Because if you're getting 25, and you're all over the place, you're not in control of what's going on. So it's showing, demonstrating, and having it documented in one way or another. Another one is, Systemology by Dave Jenions. I spoke with him recently, and an Australian author who's got a systemized approach, and going, let me hold your hand and take you through the process of systemizing your business. And it fits in with E-Myth, and it's the framework and the structure that supports all of these other methodologies. So I was about to say there's nothing else that needs to be written on these topics, but there will always be more that needs to be written for different styles and different phases. But there's enough, and there's a lot of great information out there. Where I think business owners are is sometimes we just need someone to hold us accountable, because as business leaders, no one's holding the boss accountable. And sometimes we talk a good game as business leaders, but who holds us accountable? So that's where an outside person actually holding your feet to the fire can be really effective for getting things done, and I won't say enforcing, but facilitating that change happening that they want to go through the business, and getting it started and building that momentum and getting the inertia to keep it moving when day-to-day stuff gets in the way and wants to slow it down otherwise, especially if they've got a 2-year time frame or 3-year time frame or what have you, and they've got some goals.
I always maintain it that we do a degree of accountability coaching to make sure that the strategic plans that we've helped business owners develop and put together, that they actually do happen. But similarly, just because I'm able to hold other people accountable and we're able to do that as a business, doesn't mean we are able to do that to ourselves. So additionally, we've also got our own coaches and everything that are holding us accountable to the plans that we've put together. They're emotionally detached, and I think that means that then actually you're getting logical, strategic input, as opposed to emotional based decisions that seem to be happening.
Yep.
Darryl, I think you've given obviously some great insight into sort of exit planning, and exit being obviously all of those areas that we discussed earlier. It's not just actually selling a business. There's obviously succession planning and ensuring that there's always some degree of exit that's on the horizon. Where can people find out more about yourselves, what you guys do, and how possibly they may be able to get some help from exit planning?
Okay, so thanks, Ian. Look, the business is called Succession Plus, and the web domain, which is always going to be the easiest way, is succession.plus is the easiest way to find us. So that's the new. We've taken advantage of the new domain options. If you're looking for old school, or if you have it, it's successionplus.co.uk will also work. Or I guess we can put my LinkedIn details in the notes if that's possible. But Darryl Bates Brownsword, you're not going to find too many of those on LinkedIn.
No, that's fine. No, everything will be in the show notes, and all the links and everything available, including websites and everything as well. Darryl, we have a bit of a closing tradition, I suppose, within the podcast. And it's a bit of a left field question, which is, if you were going to start a new business tomorrow, completely unrelated to what you currently do, what would it be and why?
Look, I often wonder if my background is an engineer. My first profession was an engineer. I went to uni and did mechanical engineering and worked in the power industry. Before that, I worked in bike shops, and I'm a mad keen cyclist, and I love bikes, and I got that out of my system. But I worked in bike shops for a few years. So, and then when I was at school, I worked with an architect on work experience, and I ruled that out because that was the most boring week of my life. So I never pursued the architecture, but I've always enjoyed working with wood. And whenever I see, if I go past a house and I see a house in the street where they've got some renovations or building going on, I'll always stop and have a bit of a sticky beak and go, wonder how are they doing that? And what are they doing it that way? So I've always enjoyed working with wood. So whether it was a builder or furniture maker, or probably a furniture maker, because then I can be indoors and not have to be out in the cold and wet, and especially here in the UK. So something to do with wood, perhaps.
Brilliant.
So that's totally different.
Yeah, no, brilliant. It's always interesting, the answers it brings up. Darryl,
so I guess I like building things.
Yeah, building things. Yeah, brilliant. Darryl, thanks again so much for obviously your great insights into that world of exit planning. It's been really useful, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ian. I've really enjoyed catching up with you today.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could help spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. Also, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can also find more info and links in the show notes below. See you next time. Coming next week on the Leaky Bucket podcast.
I got the notice from my accountant, and she's like, or I had a call with her, and she's like, great news. We didn't expect you to make this much money this year, but we'll have tax, blah, blah, blah. This is what it is. And I looked at my wife and I go, I should be so excited right now, and I'm not. Like, I'm unfulfilled. I'm not satisfied.